welcome to 5-Minute Math. Today we are looking at the third grade concept of perimeter. This is standard 3.7b in the great state of Texas, and we are using number 25 of the 2019 released STAAR test. If you have not done so already, please go ahead and take a moment to pause the video, work this problem out on your own, unpause it, and then we will look at our answers together. So we have a calculator here, and we need to measure it. Now this is a perimeter problem, so first let's make sure we understand what perimeter is, and then we'll see how we're going to measure it. So perimeter is going to be the outside. So sometimes we're looking at the inside of a shape. We're putting some squares on there. That's the area. So the area is inside, and the perimeter is outside. So we need to find the perimeter, or the outside, of this rectangular calculator. Now, the fact that it's rectangular lets us know that two sides are the same length and the other two sides are the same length. They did not give you any measurements. This was one of the items on the test where you had to use the provided measuring devices. So they've got some centimeters here and they've got some inches on the other side. They said to the nearest centimeter. So what I did is I actually took a picture of the part of the materials that they gave students, and I just cut out the centimeters, lined up the centimeters with 0 right there and with 0 right there, and we're going to use that to measure this calculator. This is as close to what we would do with students. They would have to take the paper and they would have to measure it themselves. So assuming that we know to put our zeros at the bottom or at the left side of what we're measuring, let's just see if we can figure out what the length and the width of this particular calculator is. So let's start with this right here. So we've got this bottom part. We'll call that the length, and it comes to right about there. It's almost a 6, but it's not quite a 6. It's a little bit less than 6 centimeters. But you notice that it says here to the nearest centimeter, so it doesn't need to be exactly perfect. We are not doing decimals. If you take a look at your 4 answer selections, we're not going into the millimeters, we're not going into decimals. So what is it nearest? Well, it's nearest 6, so we can just call this 6 cm right here. And we can also count the top as 6 cm. And we don't have to measure it, because since it's a rectangle, if the bottom is 6 centimeters, the top is going to be 6 centimeters. Now let's take a look at this side. You see that this side starts at 0 right here, and the top kind of comes a little bit past 9.5. It's kind of close to 10, but it's not 100% 10. So I'm just going to call it 10 because that's the nearest. But if we find an answer that doesn't quite work, we might think it's a 9. But with these particular problems, they're not going to make it exact. They want you to use the nearest. So you do have to use a little bit of judgment here. So let's say this is about 10 centimeters, and this is about 10 centimeters. Now, how do we find the perimeter? Well, we can just add up the sides, right? So we can do 6 plus 6 plus 10 plus 10. Let's see, 6 and 6 is 12. And that's going to be 32, so it looks like 32 cm, which we have an answer right there, B. What we can also do is we can double the length, so 2 times the length, so we'll say that's 6, and then add that to 2 times the width, we'll say that's 10, because perimeters, rather than adding up all 4 times, you can double the length, so that's going to make 12. Double the width, that's going to make 20. And look at that, 12 and 20, there's your 32. So you can add up all 4 sides. You can use the formula. That's going to work. So obviously we see that this 10 right here, that's just measuring this side, so that's incorrect. 16, well, that's what happens when you add 10 plus 6. And then 32, the only way to get that is if you just, you don't measure correctly. Maybe you make this 6 into a 7, or maybe you make this 10 up into 11. But that's close, but it's too big, and so our answer is going to be B, 32 centimeters.